If you're not familiar with who Nerdio is, we started out as an MSP similar to Choice Solutions many years ago. Originally based out of Chicago from a company named Adar, we built some tools internally to kind of improve the overall cloud experience and better support our clients at the time. Um, some of you may be aware in the earlier Windows Virtual Desktop and Azure days, even the Microsoft 365 days. Working with those tools was clunky and complex, and so we built internal tools to make that easier. And what started as internal tools for our team kind of turned into the foundation of where we're at today. We designed a platform specifically to help businesses and IT organizations, whether small medium business SMB or enterprise. We help to enable MSPs and IT teams all over to get more out of Microsoft 365, Intune, and Azure. We work closely with companies like Choice Solutions to make Microsoft 365 offerings like Business Premium and Azure easier to manage, quicker to secure, and of course more consistent to support. So you can kind of think of Nerdio a little bit as maybe an enhancement engine behind the scenes, working with companies like Choice and with companies like Microsoft to take the busy work out of it, right? So we've kind of been watching the tech industry take a bit of a paradigm shift over the last few years, right? Organizations are slowly moving away from that old castle and moat model where everything lived behind a firewall, and we're moving to a world in which users and apps and data are just kind of everywhere, right? Tools like Intune and Defender, as it's been pointed out, are going to help secure that modern environment. Microsoft kind of introduced their zero trust model as a core tenet of modern work and their modern work initiative. And so we do things like help Choice Solutions to make that process and that system easier to manage. This is going to include things like setting up new users, deploying device protections, applying standard policies across places like Teams, Exchange, etc. We have systems like our unified endpoint management tool as a perfect example that are going to allow for quicker setting up of things like those conditional access policies, those geofencing policies, and those risky user allotments that we were literally just talking about a moment ago, right? Make sure those malicious threat actors out there are not going to get in the way, or at least reduce the scope of what that looks like. So this is going to help your internal company get set up quicker. It's going to be faster and keep things more consistent and secure. And this is going to be long term, right? We also help with things like cost awareness, making sure that you have a good handle on not rabbiting growth, particularly for things like your Azure infrastructures or even those business Microsoft 365 licenses. We knocked the next one perfect. So one of the things that we really kind of get into um, is how packed Business Premium is, right? Defender, Intune, Autopilot, Office, Teams, etc., right? And the truth is, and it's been pointed out a few times, a lot of these features are going unused. Anti-phishing and threat protection tools like safe links and save attachments are already part of the Defender plan. Deploying them consistently, however, across your tenants is where it gets tricky. So Nerdio helps companies like Choice Solutions roll these protections out repeatedly, quickly, and make modification and maintenance of those a lot easier as well. Our Nerdio Manager for MSP offering really offers a real multi-tenant functionality, which is not something that Microsoft infrastructure has natively. And so it's going to allow companies like Choice the ability to turn on and configure those tools in just a few clicks. It's really going to make that acceleration to value really meaningful for small, medium businesses and enterprise teams alike. So as you work hand in hand with Choice, things like being able to get you up and rolling, make sure you have new users rolled out quickly, all of that's going to be a lot easier to manage.
What if I can jump in here real quick, Tim? One of the things that we find real value in, and it's one of the slides that Josh talked about earlier, is that when we review the Defender for Business or Defender for Enterprise Plan 2 versus Defender for Business Plan 2,
Mhm.
one of the key differentiators is the centralized policy configuration and management is not included from the business side. And that's really one of the biggest hurdles to managing that SKU at scale or really across an organization that most folks run into. So when we hit that hurdle, you've got to almost bring a secondary tool in to help facilitate that. And a couple of different ways we can do that. And one of the ones that we've standardized on is, again, leveraging that consistency of a baseline policy across that we can quickly edit, tune, and adjust to best practices and roll out across multiple customers and tenants in a single pane of glass. Makes it very easy for us to help provide those flexibility, and for our security team who's looking at those things on an ongoing basis to make those adjustments and have it quickly impact not just us as an organization, but also all of our customers on our behalf as well. So that's kind of some of the key value we're looking at here. And again, that's where that kind of defender's great, but you've got to be able to manage it, right? And so we almost have to layer another tool in top of the business SKU to manage it, or you're going to spend some time from an administrative perspective getting that configured and set up. And that's the other aspect of it, depending on how you want to look at that.
And that's exactly right? The Microsoft ecosystem is vast. It is very encompassing, and to specialize in different areas requires many years and many hours of working behind the scenes, right? So it's one of those situations where there are sometimes you need a policy put out really quickly, or you need a change made, and implemented very quick. One of the things that Nerdio is going to kind of help in that situation, one of the things we do fantastic is that standardization model, right? So there's a lot of valuable features inside of Microsoft 365. Whether you're doing, laps, as Randy pointed out earlier, for your Intune device management or conditional access, whether you're doing SharePoint and team security settings, you want those to be consistent. So we go through and we have a series of some preset policies, but also customizable policies that are based around like security and compliance. We also have the ability to roll those out very quickly. So if there needs to be a change, we can put that in place with things like automation. And we really strive to kind of deliver a visibility that's not inherent inside of the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. I'm sure probably many of y'all are aware, to get to different things, there's different admin centers. So one of the things that our tool brings to the table is the ability to have a single pane of glass so that you don't have to go clicking through a lot of different areas.
One of the other things, in particular here that I think is really helpful is the fact that, you know, you also have some canned policies in terms of compliancy that are a part of this. We're going to talk about that a little bit further, but there's some, default standard policies. We can also run those policies not in apply mode, but in report mode. And that's key, right? Because we can actually look at a customer environment and say, here's the baseline policies that we have. We can evaluate what may be at risk, determine if we need to make adjustments to the policy. We can then, make exceptions for that customer based upon that policy and then push those items out specifically as well. So it allows us to do a lot of very quick prototyping, determine the potential impact, risk assessment. If there is issues, identify those up front to help not that it helps again expedite that time to delivery and maintain the value out of what you're already purchasing and leveraging. So
Right.
just want to make sure we call those out as well.
One of the big things that happens kind of behind the scenes, right? When we're having these conversations with companies like Pax8 and Choice Solutions, as we're having these meetings, right? We often talk about things in the world of like day zero, day one, and day two kind of approaches. Day zero being, what are the things that we would implement as a change, in an environment for a new client, whereas day one is what's the future change kind of thing. What are we changing? What models or things that need to be implemented but have to have user awareness, and that day two kind of scenario where it's the everyday maintenance, right? That day zero, one, and two conversation often happens and really needs to be like part of that planning process. And as Randy pointed out, sometimes it's a matter of getting a policy in place first so that there is that level of security day zero, but really day one, day two, that customizing those features really comes into play.